Over the last 2.5 decades, we had more than 100 Pokemon sets released. As you all know, every set has a chase card, but let's not focus on the sets today. What is the best Pokemon card that has been released every single year? From 1999 with base set Fossil and Jungle to the actual 2024 with the Scarlet and Violet era, let's look at the best of the best cards that have been released. Before going for the video guys, a quick reminder that I'm giving away this Evolving Skies sealed booster box when we hit 3000 subscribers. If you want the box, the only thing you have to do is like, subscribe and comment something down below. I will reply to the winner's comment with instructions to send the box. There is a bunch of beautiful cards from the original year of the English Pokémon release, 1999. We'll give a quick honorable mention to Dragonite and Gengar from Fossil, absolute banger cards, and we will mention Snorlax and the 3 evolutions Jolteon, Flareon and Vaporeon from Jungle. But my favorite card of Jungle will always be the Scyther. What a beautiful card. It is impossible to not give the top 3 of the original year to the Kanto starters, Blastoise, Venusaur, and of course on the top 1 we've got Charizard from the original first edition base set. It might be hard to believe, but in the year 2000 we had even more chase cards than the year before, so it is really hard to decide for the top 3 of this year. We'll give quick honorable mentions to Sabrina's Gengar and Blaine's Moltres from Gym Heroes. Even my favorite is Erika's Dragonair for sure. There is something about that card that is just perfect. We have to mention for sure the Dark Dragonite and Blastoise from Team Rocket, and Rocket's Mewtwo and Erika's Venusaur from Gym Challenge, which are absolute bangers too. Without forgetting the starters from Johto from the Neo Genesis First Edition set, which are of course Meganium, Feraligatr and Typhlosion. I know for sure some of you already know the top 3. I am interested to know how would you order them, but I will give the top 3 to the Dark Charizard from Team Rocket, fantastic card with the Charizard from the back. The top 2 will go to yet another Charizard. We're talking about Blaine's Charizard from Gym Challenge. This card looks absolutely insane with 2 different holo colors, which was something super exclusive at that time. Finally, for the top 1, we have got the Neo Genesis First Edition Lugia. Man, this is one of my favorite cards of all time. The holo on this card is also 2 different colors, and it is just something else to look at in real life. It gives Gen 2 vibes, and it is both a grail and a masterpiece. 2001 was kind of a slow year in terms of Pokemon sets, since we only got 2, but man, they are crazy. Before talking about them, we will give a quick shout out to the Southern Island collection that was a mini release of a really small set, but the arts were so refreshing, quite literally, and the Mew from the set looks between cute and insane. It is quite a crazy card. The main plates of this year were of course Neo Discovery and Neo Revelation. I could be mentioning honorable mentions of these sets during probably 30 minutes, so we will sum them to the Espeon, Tyranitar and Houndoom from Neo Discovery and the legendary dog trio from Neo Revelation. We can't forget the Ho-Ho and the Houndoom that completes the evolution line with the other set. Now going for the top 3, I would consider the Shining Magikarp the best fitting candidate on this spot. Such an iconic card and a beautiful art too. Now this was super difficult to order, but in the top 2 we've got the original Moonbryon from Neo Discovery. This card needs no introduction at all, and it is definitely one of the greatest chase cards of all time. The same can be said for the top 1, the Shining Gyarados from Neo Revelation. Crazy and iconic card and a featured Pokemon both in Gen 2 and 4. Apart from being beautiful, this card has story to tell, which makes it even more special. 2002 was a crazy year that had 3 sets released to its name. It was absolutely insane the amount of pulls and beautiful cards we had from this year. It is so hard to mention all the cards I would like to, but we have all the light and dark versions of Pokemon from Neo Destiny, where I would say my favorite are Espeon and Tyranitar. This same set had the Shining cards inside, which gave this set an insane depth and number of pulls. The best ones we should mention are the Shining Mewtwo, Celebi, Raichu and Tyranitar. You know why I am not mentioning the best one yet. From the Expedition set, we have to quickly mention Charizard and Blastoise Reverse Holo and the Mew Holo. I personally don't like reprints of the sets, but the Legendary Collection was the first and most crazy one in history. The Reverse Holo pattern is actually insane for these cards. If we're going purely by price, I would probably have to put 3 cards from this set on the top, but we won't do it since all are reprints of older cards. Although I feel almost obligated to mention the Dark Dragonite and Blastoise and the Mewtwo on the Reverse Holo pattern. For the top 3, we have got the Expedition Charizard Holo, beautiful and iconic holo card, even though I don't like the art of Expedition that much. I'm incapable of ordering the 2 cards on the top, but I think I would put the Shining Charizard First Edition on the top 2. This card is absolutely insane to see in person, and it's the first shiny Charizard in history, so it makes this card so special. The reason I have given the top 1 to the Legendary Collection Charizard Reverse Holo is because it is so exclusive and hard to find that even being a reprint, it makes it one of the best cards in history. The Reverse Holo pattern makes it look super cool, combining the red and the blue of the card, almost making it a duality of types. Remember, this card is from 2002 and it is super ahead of its time. I don't like having 3 Charizard on the top, but I would be biased not to put them here, although things are about to change soon. 2003 was a strange year since it was the transition from the E-Card series to the EX series. I personally think the EX series is the best tier of Pokemon in history, but I have to say that the heat was still to come. There are a lot of cards that I would like to mention here too, but I will keep it short. Even being a Gen 3 lover, I have to admit that the first two sets of the EX series were nothing crazy at all. From EX Ruby and Sapphire, we can mention Scyther and Mewtwo EX, and from EX Sandstorm, we should give some credit to Gardevoir, Aerodactyl, Typhlosion, and Raichu EX. The cards from this set look really dark themed, and what keeps them special is that they are the first EX cards in Pokemon history, which honestly changed the game forever. From EX Dragon, we can mention the Dragonite and Kingdra EX, the Latios and Latias EX, and of course, the GOAT Rayquaza EX too. This Rayquaza is not my favorite, but man, it looks like a dark Rayquaza. We have got to put respect on this card. Prior to these sets, in 2003, we also had Skyreach and Aquapolis. Honestly, these two sets were the pure prime of the E-Card series and have tens of hits inside. Since we can mention them all, we will give credit to the Umbreon, Houndoom, Espeon, and Tyranitar Holo, and of course, the Crystal versions of Kingdra and Nidoking. And this Nidoking looks just crazy. Skyreach is almost overwhelming, the amount of pulls you have inside the set. I will mention the Moonbreon, Vaporeon, Moltres, Houndoom, Arcanine, and Alakazam Holo. And of course, the Crystal versions of Kabutops, Ho-Ho, and Celebi, being one of the best cards versions of all time. For the top 3, we've got the Charizard Secret Rare from EX Dragon. I don't love this Mario type art, but I love that this was the first Charizard Secret Rare card. Let's say the Pokemon Company liked the idea afterwards. On the top 2, we have no other than the Aquapolis Crystal Lugia. There's nothing to say about this card, it is as close to perfection as you can get. Beautiful colors, beautiful holo, and one of the most desired Pokemon cards of all time. On the top 1, we've got, of course, another Charizard, but I promise this will change soon. We've got the Skyreach Crystal Charizard. Colors of these cards are beautiful, and it is the first Charizard card that we can see that close, which makes it kind of special too. 2004 was a really big year for Pokemon cards. We got more deep into the EX era of Pokemon. EX Team Magma versus Team Aqua is the first set of this year, offering us the 3 legendary dogs for the first time in their EX version, and the whole started trio in their EX versions too. Just look at my boy right here. Hidden Legends is the second and weakest set of this year, but even that, it gave us beautiful cards like Metagross, Ninetales, Kyogre, and Groudon EX, and the 3 Regis with the Crystal Holo, which look absolutely gorgeous. EX Fire Red and Leaf Green was an absolute banger. The legendary Beard trio can be found in this set with the special Crystal Holo. We can also find good Gen 1 Pokemon on their EX version like Gengar and Gyarados, and of course the Kanto trio in their EX versions too. This time the Charizard EX will stay on the top 4 but out of the podium. That is caused by the next set, EX Team Rocket returns. It was hard to make a better set than the last one, but they broke all the records with this one. Apart from having dark versions of a bunch of OG Pokemon, they created the EX on this set looks so dark and cool. I would beat myself if I didn't show you all the EX cards on this set, so you will be seeing them on the screen. I think the best ones are Mewtwo, Scyther, who looks absolutely dark and ready to fight, and the Suicune with the ice crystals on the back of the card. You might have noticed that we haven't mentioned any Pokemon from the podium so far, and that's because this set, apart from all the mentioned so far, had the first 3 Gold Stars of all time, with the Hone starters on their first evolution state. So for the top 3, we've got the Mudkip Gold Star, on the top 2, Trico Gold Star, and the top 1 of course, the best starter of all time, 100% math-based science, 0% biased opinion, Torchic Gold Star. My second favorite card of all time actually. 2005 was the absolute prime of Pokemon cards. In this year a lot of the best cards of all time were released. The weakest set of this era was EX Emerald, but even being so, it had a lot of EX pulls like the Regis, Raichu, Milotic, and Deoxyspeed. The most remarkable cards from this era were the Rayquaza, Salamence, Sharpedo, and Raikou EX from the EX Deoxys set, combined with the beautiful EX collection available in the Unseen Forces set, featuring the best and most iconic Gen 2 Pokemon like Tyranitar, Umbreon, Typhlosion, Scizor, Espeon, and of course Lugia and Ho-Ho. From EX Delta species we have iconic Pokemon with different typing, which was a brilliant idea to bring refreshing cards to the TCG. We also have the 3 OG evolutions on their EX versions on this set. Now let's address the dumb fan in the room, the hardest podium of all Pokemon history. This is the golden era of Pokemon quite literally, since 3 of the top sets had beautiful Gold Star Pokemon, Pokemon. They do not make it to the top 3, but we will mention them here, since these cards were absolutely gorgeous cards and would have easily won in other years of this list. We have the legendary dog trio as Gold Stars in EX Unseen Forces. Just look at these cards, especially Suicune, they're just gorgeous. From Delta Spacious, we have got the 2 main Hoenn legendaries, Groudon and Kyogre as Gold Stars, which is the beautiful and Steven's epic Metagross on its shiny form too. I don't even know how is it possible that a year of Pokemon was so good. These cards could not even make it to the podium. Now for the awaited top 3, we will have to go back to the first set of this era, EX Deoxys. We've got the Gold Star Latios and Latias in our top 3 and 2 spots. The holo and colors of these cards are just majestic, the roaming legendaries from the best generation in their absolute prime. Now for the top 1, I'm pretty sure a lot of you already know this one. If you want a hint, just have a look at my profile picture, since we've got the one and only Gold Star Rayquaza. I cannot express with words how much this card means to myself and all the community with similar ages that played the 3rd gen when we were just kids. Apart from being our favorite legendary of all time, the shiny version of this Pokemon is just unbeatable. The black just makes it look perfect. The Holon pattern combined with the spiral the body Rayquaza is making around the card, just like it was entering the card itself, it is just out of this world, making it my favorite card of all time and one of the most desired cards in Pokemon history. 2006 was the follow-up of the Pokemon Gold Star era. If last year was hard to rank, this just got really worse. The volume of absolute banger hits were just crazy. Given the sheer volume of Gold Stars that came out on this year, we will give a quick shout out to all the Delta Species EX that look insane with some legendary and pseudo legendary Pokemon that you will be seeing on the screen, and we will jump straight to the main plate. From EX Legend Maker, we've got the 3 Gold Star Regis. They look so sick, even they did not make it to the podium. From EX Crystal Guardians, we had the Gold Star Alakazam and Celebi. Again, just sick cards with gorgeous designs, but they cannot compete with what is coming next. We have a special space here to mention the Crystal Guardians Charizard. The fact that this card is not even on the top 3 should alarm you of the bangers that are coming. I will even extend the podium to the top 5, which is the Gold Star Mewtwo. Do these upcoming cards even need an introduction? In my eyes, they are just perfect. I guess one is nothing without the other, since the top 2 is the Gold Star Mew. I hope whoever had the idea to make the blue shining Mew a water type through Delta Species just gets a rise. What a great idea and execution. Now finally, we're going for the top 3 of one of the best years in Pokemon history, Gold Star Pikachu. The most iconic Pokemon in the series in its shiny form with a beautiful design. No further explanation needed, I guess. And by the way, my favorite Pikachu of all time. Coming close at number 2, we've got the Gold Star Gyarados. Same as the Mew, the red Gyarados made to be a fire type with an outstanding design. One, if not the most iconic shiny Pokemon in the entire franchise. And for the top 1, who else could it be if not the Gold Star Charizard from Dragon Frontiers? The design of this card looks absolutely insane, even though I don't like having a Charizard overdose on these podiums, but in this case, I just have to recognize that this is Charizard on its absolute prime. The black design of the card combined with its own colors just looks perfect. 2007 was the transition from the EX to the Diamond and Pearl era. We will give honorable mentions to the Level X starter from Sinnoh, coming from Diamond and Pearl Vase. A quick mention to the Black Star promos from this era, since some of them were just insane to be promo cards, like Charizard Level X or Rayquaza Level X. For Mysterious Treasures, we have to mention the Electivire Lucario and Magmortar Level X and the Time Space Distortion Trainer card. This year made my job a lot easier, since EX Power Creepers just takes the first Diamond and Pearl sets by storm, with the beautiful EX cards that it features, the Holo Charizard, and of course the 3 evolutions, no other than Gold Star, Jolteon, Flareon, and Vaporeon, who is actually the 3rd place of this year, being the top 3 and one of the most desired cards of 2007, if we're talking about main sets. By the way, this card is featured on the thumbnail of this video. Tell me if you recognize it before clicking. Wait, I know what you're thinking, there's something else missing, right? Where are the top 2 cards? And yes, since we're not talking about main sets but just cards released, we have to move to the Pop Series 5, where we can find the top 2 cards of this year. Following the evolutions, we have the beautiful Gold Star Green Espion. Just look at this card, it is so majestic, I just love it. On the top 1, we cannot have other than the all-time fan favorite Gold Star Umbreon, one of the most desired cards of all time and the first shiny Umbreon to ever exist in a card. This card exceeds the level of the other ones mentioned, and it is one of the most expensive cards of all time. 2008 was the main year for the Diamond and Pearl series. Before going for the top 3 cards of this year, let's give a quick shout out to the legendaries Level X from Great Encounters because they look absolutely gorgeous. The same can be said about Legend Awakeneds, which features some iconic Gen 4 Pokemon, the legendary Psychic Trio of Sinnoh and the Mewtwo Level X, which is basically our top 4 card. I also want to mention that cool Level X cards that appear on Stormfront and the great idea and introduction of the baby shiny Pokemon on the reverse lot of the packs. I personally think this was a great idea and adds some depth to the sets and fun to the packs. Now without further ado, let's go for the top 3 and the top 2, which are Leafeon and Glaceon Level X from Majestic Down. This is a great addition to the evolutions mentioned and that came out in the year past this, but they are not as good as the Gold Stars. So the price and desire for these cards did not make it that high. For the top 1, yet again, we have the Charizard Secret Rare from Stormfront. The idea of this card was cool to make a remake of the original base set, but in my opinion the execution was poor. I don't like this 3D design and would have preferred something more similar to the base set one. Even that, this card is one of the top due to the lack of competence in this year's cards and the high demand and exclusively of this specific card. 2009 was an entire era by itself, since all the Platinum sets fit in this year. The sets are similar to each other, so we'll give a shout out to all the reverse shiny Pokemon together. The best ones amongst all of these are the Ponyta, Shinx and Milotic. These sets were also full of secret rares, and we should mention the Pikachu remake of the base set with the flying and surfing Pikachu too. A really cool addition from Rising Rivals. You will see all the Level X cards that were implemented this year while I'm talking, but we'll focus on the top 3 card, which is the Snorlax Level X from Rising Rivals. Cool card but nothing crazy, it is quite a fan favorite though. On the top 2, we have the Moltres Secret Rare from Supreme Victors, and even though it is the coolest and most desired of the trio, I feel like they all need a place on this video. For the top chase card of 2009, we've got yet again the Charizard G Level X. At this point, and with all the Charizard cards we have seen until now, this does not impress me at all, although it is the most desired and expensive card of this era and year, so it has won its place fair and square. 2010 was a strange year. With the release of Heart Gold and Soul Silver, we had 2 types of cards introduced to the TCG, Prime and Legend cards. It makes my job really hard since Legend cards are paired in 2 parts, as most of you might know. Before going for the top 3, let's mention the Prime cards from the diverse sets that did not make it to the podium, but some of them are pretty cool. I have to say that all of these Legend cards put together look absolutely amazing, so I will show them on the screen even though most of them did not make it to the top. On the top 3, we have got the Red Gyarados and the Gengar Prime. Since I could not decide which of them to put on the top 3 and they have similar prices, I decided to mention it both of them here. Even though if I had to choose one, I would go with the Gengar. In the top 2, we've got the Prime Umbreon. These non-legend cards have made it to the top since we're not talking about the cards together but singular Pokemon cards, and I don't think it is fair to compare 2 cards with one. The Umbreon is a fan favorite, and being this a Gen 2 remake, it is only fair that he occupies the top 2 of this list. On the top 1, of course, the Gen 2 got the Lugia Legend card. Since I have to choose one out of the 2 cards, I would choose the bottom one to see its face, but just take a moment to enjoy this masterpiece of a card. It is not my favorite of the Legend cards we have seen before, but I think it is fair that Lugia is the most desired and expensive one in its own game series. 2011 is the year of the last Heart Gold Soul Silver set and the beginning of the Black and White era. We have to admit that the beginning of the Black and White era was a bit weak. Emerging Powers had no chase cards at all. It is worth mentioning the Reshiram and Zekrom full art from Black and White base and the Pikachu Secret Rare from that set too. These were cool additions and the first full arts in Pokemon TCG, so are considered history. On the Novel Vector set, we have the full art legendary Fighting Trio, Victini and N, being the most expensive card mentioned so far. These sets had no chance competing against the last Heart Gold Soul Silver since we're talking about Call of Legends, a set full of shiny legendary Pokemon that look absolutely outstanding. Out of all these, we have on the podium at the top 3, Suicune, in the top 2, Rayquaza, and the shiny Lugia gets the podium once again. These are the last cards with the imperfect borders of the era and are considered grails from one of the best sets created. 2012 was the legendary Black and White era. Pokemon took full arts and shinies to a whole new level. We can go past this year without mentioning the main legendary Trio EX from Unova in their full art versions from Next Destinies. Just look at these beautiful cards. This set also had inside a Shaymin, Mewtwo and Regigigas EX and some iconic Gen 5 5 Pokémons on their shiny version. Dark Explorers bring more EX full arts. This time some older gen Pokémon could be found here, such as Kyogre and Groudon and Entei and Raikou. After the last 2 sets, Dragons Exalted came out with such an epic collection of legendary Pokémon with their EX full art versions such as Ho-Oh, Mew, Rayquaza and Giratina. This set kept the Gen 5 shiny collection as we saw before. Just before going for the top 3, we have to mention the beautiful Unova legendary releases on Boundaries Crossed. The shinies on the set and the first full art trainers ever, featuring Bianca, Cheren and our top 3 Skyla full art. For the top 2, we will have to come back to Dark Explorers, where we can find the shiny Gardevoir secret rare. A beautiful yet simple card that has become one of the most desired shinies. Now finally for the top 1, and I love to say it, we have shiny Rayquaza secret rare from Dragons Exalted. This set was just crazy, and the fact that the finishing touch was a shiny Rayquaza just made this set even more desirable. 2013 was the Team Plasma year, where 3 plasma sets were released. The EX full art fiesta kept going, and let me tell you, even not being a fan of the Team Plasma, the card just looks impeccable. We have to give a big shout out to the Lugia and Articuno EX from Plasma Storm, all the legendaries from Plasma Freeze that you will be looking at right now, joined by the Latias and Latios, 2 full art trainers and the shiny secret rare Pokemon inside. The story is pretty much the same with Plasma Blast, but the theme changed with legendary treasures, where they added a Radiant Gallery that gave depth to the set and the first ever full golden cards featuring Zekrom and Reshiram. Top 3 cards of this year were kind of difficult to decide given the amount of crazy Team Plasma cards, but if we're talking about price and desire for the cards, I think we have to go with the Iris full art trainer from Plasma Blast, and the top 2 and 1 go to the beloved Kanto starters, Blastoise and Charizard that had a shiny secret rare card featuring in Plasma Storm. 2014 was the beginning of the X and Y era. Even the base set was pretty weak. We had a Venusaur and Blastoise EX full art with the legendary Pokemon from the new series too. We will show all the Mega EX and full art trainer cards since even though they are not super expensive, they had a beautiful design. Honorable mentions are the Charizard EX full art and the Mega Charizard Y EX from Flashfire, the Lucario EX full art from Furious Fist and the Mega Gengar EX from Phantom Forces. And talking about Phantom Forces, our top 3 and 2 cards are on this set. The top 3 being the Gengar EX full art. I just keep saying full art, man. I'm hearing myself talk, it's so funny. And the top 2 being the Dialga EX Silver card, the first and only made in existence, and let me tell you, one of the most underrated cards in the TCG history. The top 1, you did not have to guess much for this one since we have yet another Charizard with the Mega Charizard X secret rare from Flashfire. This card in a 10 is an absolute grail and one of the reasons this set is so expensive to buy nowadays. Moving to 2015 was the arrival of the Hoenn remakes, so we have a lot of Gen 3 themed cards inside this year. On Primal Clash, we can see some beautiful Kyogre and Groudon cards joined by some exclusive Gen 3 Pokemon like Gardevoir or Aggron. Breakthrough was thought to be a Mewtwo themed deck, but the execution was not great. Even so, it left us a lot of beautiful full arts featuring Mewtwo, so you'll probably see them on screen. Roaring Skies had the idea to be a Latios and Rayquaza themed deck, featuring them in their normal and Mega forms. This Mega Rayquaza EX would have made it to the podium, but I have decided to let it be the top 4 since it is way too similar to the winner of this year. Before going for the top 3, we have to mention the primal versions of Kyogre and Groudon from Ancient Origins, which, as most of you know, will complete the set with our top 1 card. Before that, we have to mention the top 2 and 3, which I have decided them to be the Team Magma's Groudon and the Team Aqua's Kyogre from the special set Double Crisis. Just take a moment to enjoy these beautiful cards featuring the legendary versions, joined by their respective teams and the most iconic Pokemons they would use in the franchise. Just an amazing one in a lifetime situation. Now, of course, the top 1 spot is for our big boy and fan favorite and channel favorite and everyone's favorite, Mega Rayquaza EX from Ancient Origins. I know some of you might consider the entire set of this card to be top 3, and it is completely reasonable, but I have decided the Double Crisis versions were too good to be out of the top. 2016 was an interesting year for Pokemon, celebrating the 20-year anniversary with the set Generations. In terms of chase card, this set was poor at best, so we'll mention the Flareon EX from the Radiant collection of Generations. Look at these cute boys. Quick shout out to the Gardevoir EX from Steam Siege. Even being a cheap card, the design and the Yveltal on the back look just sick. We will just mention the Mega Charizard EX from Evolutions before going for our top 3, the shiny Gyarados EX from Breakpoint. The art is super cool with the Greninja and Manaphy, but was never as desired as the last shiny Gyarados cards we have seen until now. In the top 2 we have the Mega Charizard EX from Generations, pretty similar to the Flash Fire one that won 2 years before, but not even close in terms of price and uniqueness. Our top 1, and quite a favorite of mine, Alakazam EX from Fates Collide. This card has a simple yet amazing design and features 2 of the most iconic Pokemon of all time in the background with the Umbreon and Lugia. In 2017 we had the beginning of the Sun and Moon. Unfortunately, the first sets of Sun and Moon were really weak, so there is an extreme lack of chase cards in this year. It was the introduction of the rainbow cards that you're seeing on the screen, but there was nothing great on them apart from the ones on the top. On the top 3 we've got the Rainbow Umbreon GX from Sun and Moon base, the top 2 is Mewtwo GX from Shining Legends, the one that is in the lab, and of course on the top 1, with an abysmal difference in price, desiredness and design too honestly, we've got the Rainbow Charizard from Burning Shadows. Quite a grail at this point. 2018 was the trainer boom from Sun and Moon, where a lot of super expensive and rare trainer cards were created. There are 2 sets really weak in terms of pools, which are Forbidden Light and Dragon Majesty. From Ultra Prism, there are a lot of trainer cards to consider on honorable mentions like Cynthia, Lusamine and Mars. We also have to give a quick shout out to the Rayquaza GX Secret Rare from Celestial Storm and the Mimikyu and Suicune GX from Lost Thunder. On the top 3 we've got the main chase card of Lost Thunder, the Lugia GX Secret Rare. This Rainbow Lugia has been increasing in price over the years and looks like it is going to be one of the main chase cards in Sun and Moon era. On the top 2 we have got the Lisa Full Art from Celestial Storm, one of the most expensive trainer cards of all time, only to be surpassed by our top 1, the Lily Full Art from Ultra Prism, which has become the grail of trainer cards and goes for an absurd amount of money nowadays. 2019 is the second half and absolute prime of the Sun and Moon era, bringing us 3 of the best sets of the last decade. Plenty of honorable mentions in this year given the sheer quantity of chase card released. Unbroken Bonds had some beautiful tag teams like Gardevoir and Sylveon, Reshiram and Charizard, Greninja and Zoroark, and I always say Marshmallow did this guy, I forgot the real name, whatever. Marshmallow and Machamp. The list goes on with some trainers and single Pokemon bangers too, but there are too many to mention on this video. Unified Minds featured Misty's Favor and some crazy tag teams like Mewtwo and Mew, Mega Sableye and Tyranitar, Raichu and Alola and Raichu, and Slowpoke and Psyduck. Hidden Fates was an absolute banger of a set, having a shiny ball with Umbreon, Cynthia, Sylveon, Espeon, Mewtwo, and all the ones you're watching right now. 2 best sets of Sun and Moon were released this year too, Cosmic Eclipse and Team Up. Some honorable mentions from these sets before going for the top 3 are the Rosa Full Art, the insane Arceus, Dialga and Palkia tag team, Lily's Full Force, Solgaleo Lunaria GX, Cynthia and Caitlyn Full Art, Blastoise and Piplup GX, with a bunch more insane cards from Cosmic Eclipse. Now for Team Up, we had the Eevee and Snorlax tag team, Erika's Hospitality, Magikarp and Wailord GX, and then we would enter the top 3 with the Gengar and Mimikyu GX tag team. I don't think this card needs any kind of introduction since it has a beautiful art and 2 really loved Pokemon together. For the top 2 of this video, For the top 2 of this year, we have to move back to Hidden Fates and take the best card in this set, the Shiny Charizard from the Shiny Vault. There's not much to add here, a shiny Charizard with a beautiful design, hard to pull and hard to grade a 10. You have the perfect recipe for a banger. On the top 1 we've got no other than the Latios and Latias, I don't know how to pronounce Latios. What is wrong with me? Latios and Latias GX tag team from Team Up. Super iconic card that peaks the Sun and Moon era and has become the second best modern chase card of all time. 2020 was the start of the Sword and Shield era, honestly one of the best eras we had in a while, but same as Sun and Moon, the first sets were poor at best, avoiding Sword and Shield Vase, Darkness Ablaze and Rival Clash given the lack of pulls and interest on the sets. We can move directly to the top 3 of this era, which are the Chonkachu, which is the Rainbow Pikachu VMAX from Vivid Voltage, honestly the only interesting card in the whole set. On the top 2 without competition at all, we've got the 2 shiny Charizards from Champion's Path. Since the price is so close between them, we will put the Charizard V on the top 1, since it looks far better than the VMAX in my opinion. Same with Vivid Voltage, there's nothing else to see here apart from these 2 cards. In 2021, things got a lot more interesting for Sword and Shield, and the prime of the year started this year. We'll give some honorable mentions before talking about the set that you already know. From Shining Fates, we have to mention the Charizard VMAX. From Battle Styles we can mention the Sleepy Titar, which has been exploding in price lately, and the 2 VMAX Ushifus. From Chilling Reign I want to mention Calyrex, Galarian Moltres, and of course the Blaziken VMAX. The last card did not make it to the podium for a really close margin. It's the best starter, I mean, what did you expect? Celebrations was released this year, celebrating the 25th anniversary of Pokemon. The only cards worth mentioning from this set is the reprint of Charizard. Moving on to the Fusion Strike, we have to mention the big 3 of this set, the Mew and Espeon VMAX Alt Arts. And the top card of this set made it to the top 3. We have got the Gengar VMAX Alt Art. This card is just amazing, and the fact that it could compete with Evolving Skies is a clear demonstration of the uniqueness and desire from the community towards this card. Not much to say, it is a fan favorite and it is eating the whole world. Now, before going for the top 2 cards of the year, we of course have to talk about Evolving Skies. This set is clearly a Black Swan event with the most amount of pulls we've had seen probably in decades. Let's take some seconds to appreciate the beauty of the Evolutions and Rayquaza V Alt Arts and the big 3 before our top 2, which are Sylveon, Glaceon and Leafeon VMAX Alt Arts. These cards are just beautiful, but they cannot compete with the top 2 Rayquaza VMAX Alt Art. My boy is making me proud, man. It sounds kind of ridiculous, but the top 1 card had no competition, even the supreme level of chase cards this year had to offer. We of course are talking about the Moonbryon on the top of this year. I mean, I don't think this was a surprise for anybody. This card is the peak of Sword and Shield and Pokemon TCG as a whole in its prime. The art is absolutely beautiful, being a remake of the Moonbryon cards we have seen before in this video. Let me tell you that the execution was also unmatched. This card will go down in history as one of the best chase cards of all time, and it is a sweet reminder of the Logan Paul era and the hobby exploding in population. Moving to the last 3 years, 2022 was the last block of Sword and Shield, and it had great sets inside. All the sets here had awesome trainer galleries that gave the set a lot of depth and made possible the double hit packs. For our first set, Brilliant Stars, we have got a beautiful and quite cheap Arceus V Alt Art, I think that's an alternative art, and our top 4 card of this year out of the podium by a super thin margin, Charizard V Alt Art. In Astral Radiance, apart from a really good trainer gallery, we had the origin forms of Dialga and Palkia, and our top 3 card of the year, the Machamp V Alt Art. I would like you could take a second to appreciate the details of this card with the Trapinch helping out there, just an amazing chase card and featuring an iconic Gen 1 Pokemon. Let's jump into Silver Tempest, where there are not so many pulls but a clear banger, and our top 2, the Lugia V Alt Art. I've talked so many times about this card, and it is because it's absolutely astounding. For me, it is easily one of the top 3 chase cards of this whole era. Moving back to Lost Origin, we can't forget to mention the Aerodactyl Alt Art before going for our clear top 1 chase card of the year, which was the Giratina V Alternative Art. There is not much to add, just look at this card. It is absolutely gorgeous and one of the only cards who stands a chance against the winner of the last year, the Moonbryon. 2023 is one of the best years in Pokemon history, with the release of the last Sword and Shield set, Crown Zenith, a fan favorite specialty set with a bunch of trainers and legendary Pokemon with arts never seen before in this depth of detail. I would give special credit to the V-Star cards on the top, featuring Dialga, Palkia, Mewtwo and Arceus. These golden look cards are just amazing looking. Entering the Scarlet and Violet era with the base set, even the cards inside this set are not worth much. I can say that the arts are something else, and I wanted to give a quick overview of this set. Same with Paradox Rift. The level of detail in all the future and past cards, some illustration rares like Groudon, is just unmatched and never seen on the eras before. Just before going for the top 3 cards of the year, we have to mention the 2 banger of a sets Paldea Evolved and 151 Wear. I'm so grateful that 151 bring back so many people to the hobby, and the possibility you have to have the original Pokemon from the first generation not reprinted but remake, and man, what a remake this was. All the starter evolution lines and the Alakazam Zapdos EX you are seeing on the screen with such beautiful arts, there is not too much to add. Paldea Evolved had also a level of detail that we never seen before. Take a minute of your time and scroll down all the cards on the set. Just look how many beautiful arts and depth the sets have accomplished nowadays. The fact that there is that level of detail even with cards that are not that expensive just amazes me. Stopping the rambling and going for the top 3, we've got Giratina V-Star from Crown Zenith. The detail level and amazing art, watching Giratina from the top is all we need to know this card will be an absolutely success. On the top 2, we've got the Charizard EX Special Illustration Rare from 151. It could have easily be the top 1 given the close these 2 cards are in price, but since Charizard had too many podiums through the years, we have to give the top 1 of this year to our little boy Magikarp Illustration Rare from Paldea Evolved, drawn by the same artist as the Giratina that won the last year, Shinji Kanda. It is only fair to say that this man knows how to draw absolute bangers. Moving to the current year, 2024, I'm still grateful to live inside the hobby of this era of Pokemon. Same as last year, the arts, depth, and detail to these sets have been increasing a lot lately. Let's talk about Temporal Forces first, which is a really solid set with beautiful arts, but that could not make it to the top of this year. Even that, we had to mention these cards as clear honorable mentions with the 3 ancient legendary dogs and the 3 future Iron trio. Shrouded Fable is following a similar line. It looks like a solid set, but without the bangers needed to be on the top of a year, which of course still has not finished. Even that, the illustration rares and promo cards of this set look absolutely insane. Moving back a bit to Paldean Fates, where we have the first 2 Pokemon to make it to the podium, this has been a great set. Even though it is not on the level of Hidden Fates, it has surpassed a lot of the specialty sets. I want to give a special shout out to the Shiny Gardevoir EX. Even though it is not super expensive, this card deserves some attention from us all. Now finally going for the top 3 of the current year, the Bubble Mew EX. The simplicity and cuteness of these cards make it so unique and special, and that is reflected on the price and desire the card has going for it. Now moving to the top 2, we've got the Shiny Charizard EX from this set too. I'm not a big fan of the diamond thing, but I have to say the art is clean, and of course being the Pokemon it is helps out the card a lot. For the top 1, and I don't think it surprises any of the viewers at this point, we've got the Greninja Special Illustration Rare from Twilight Masquerade. This card has taken the whole era and fanbase by storm, performing similar to the Mombreon 3 years ago. Greninja is a clear fan favorite, even though it is more modern. It even won the pool of favorite Pokemon of the year in 2020. Seems like the opinions on this card are quite polarizing, but I personally love it and think it can remain on the top 1 for the rest of the year. If you have made it to this point, I want to personally thank you. This video took over 100 hours to put together, and I'm grateful that you are here. I will see you in the next one. Don't forget to enter the giveaway, and as always, have a great day.